In this section on sailing upwind, we're going to look at the key elements of tuning, trim, steering and teamwork. The foundation for good upwind sailing is boat speed. If you're fast, it makes the tactics much easier. So let's start with boat speed. First, you have to set the boat up for the conditions, and that depends on two things: the strength of the wind and the size of the waves. In light winds, we need slacker rigging to force some shape into the front of the jib, giving more drive and making the boat easier to steer. As the wind increases, the extra force on the jib forces it sideways, causing too much fullness. We tighten the shrouds to counteract this. Once we get overpowered, we use the backstay to bend the topmast and open the mainsail leach. If we tighten the lowers slightly, we'll stop the middle of the mast overbending and keep the lower part of the main driving, whilst the top is depowered and set up for low drag. When the water is flatter, it will be easier to steer the boat more accurately, and we don't need quite so much power to drive the boat through the waves. We set the rig up in a slightly flatter, low drag mode. For big chop, we need a fuller jib which doesn't stall as the boat lurches around, and a fuller main for more power. Now once the rig is set up for the conditions, we can fine-tune the power with the other controls. In light winds, we sail with the jib well twisted. It's very easy to cause a stall by pulling too hard down the leach. We leave the tack height at base, but twist the jib by easing the sheet. In medium winds, we're looking for maximum power, so we raise the jib up the forestay to reduce twist a little. That's the equivalent to moving the traveller forward on a fore and aft track. In strong winds, we depower the jib, letting it twist by dropping it further down the forestay and pulling hard on the tack line. We use outhaul and Cunningham to control the mainsail in a similar way. In light winds, outhaul is tight, Cunningham right off. In medium winds, we might ease a bit of outhaul, though most of the extra power comes by winding on the main sheet. In strong winds, we heave on the Cunningham and outhaul to depower the mainsail as much as possible. Once the boat is set up, it's a question of using the dynamic controls to keep the boat at top speed as you sail upwind. You should be able to set these so the boat is well balanced and almost sails itself, just making small adjustments in anticipation of the gusts. In light winds, the sheets are eased to encourage the twist, which will prevent a stall. The top telltale of the main should be streaming all the time. Keep the boom on the centre line by pulling the traveller to windward. Vang and backstay should be completely free. But then as the breeze comes up, you can pull harder on the jib and main sheet. The top telltale should be stalling about 25% of the time. Boom is still on the centre line. The helm should be able to feel whether the jib is oversheeted. He'll struggle to keep the telltales flying, and the boat will feel as if it's bouncing up and down, chopping wood. Just 10 millimetres of ease will make all the difference. Eventually, there'll just be too much wind to sail with the boom on the centre line. The boat will be overheeling and the helm will feel too much load on the tiller. Every time a gust comes through, the boat will shoot up into the wind and be difficult to pull back down. Depower by easing the traveller down the track. Keep the main sheet on hard. The hard mainsail leach keeps the boat pointing high. Once the wind has increased so much the traveller is all the way down, it's time to flatten the mainsail. Increasing backstay and Cunningham as the breeze continues to increase will achieve this depowering. The aim is to lose enough power that small variations can be covered by small adjustments to the traveller and the natural feathering effect of the boat. Some teams like to start to use the vang to control the mainsail leach at this stage, then pull the traveller to windward and play the main sheet. But Mark Russell's view, keep the vang loose and play the traveller. Eventually, it's so windy that any more backstay overbends the base of the mast and causes starvation creases right down the clew. As we can't adjust the lowers during the race, we now depower by easing some main sheet, twisting the mainsail a little, and pulling the boom up with the traveller. We won't point quite so high, but the boat will keep going fast through the gusts. While the crew trim the sails and keep the boat in tune and sailing fast, the helmsman is the person with the ultimate control. The helmsman can feel when the boat is in or out of tune, and the helmsman's delicate touch is what keeps the boat on the boil. The first person to feel when something is wrong. A well-balanced boat almost always sails itself. So let's look at grip. The briefcase grip gives good firm control. There's no danger of the rudder flapping around and causing drag over the waves. And then steering style. As the gust comes through, the helmsman allows the boat to feather very slightly to windward, keeping the boat flat and using the extra power to gain a small amount of height. But while the helmsman is steering fast, the rest of the talent on board is vital for speed, positioning relative to other boats and tactics. And it's not just the strength of the wind, but direction too. Look at the dark patches. Look at other boats, use flags and any other signals to try and predict what's coming down the course. Waves are big stoppers in upwind sailing. Give the helmsman a picture of the oncoming wave patterns. It will help when it comes to sailing high and slow, or full and